But 4 years before the war started, they already gave the military the decisive technology to win this war. How? The same chemical industry managed to create bombs from air. 70% of air is nitrogen. They were able to liquefy nitrogen and putting it into ammonium, which is the basis of gunpowder. So there was unlimited gunpowder made from air. A dream for everyone who wanted to start a war. So not only did they have the goal for global conquest, they also provided the technology to win it. Fritz Haber, BASF. So 4 years before the cartel launched its first attempt at world conquest, in coalition with the German Emperor and the Wehrmacht, they knew how to produce bombs from air. And of course, not surprisingly, Fritz Haber became the coordinator of these efforts within the German War Ministry, with a specific task to produce enough ammonium to win this war and to provide other synthetic materials essential to continue the war. We have to state it that clearly. Without BASF, there would have been no World War I. But that was not all. Chemical warfare agents are introduced in that war for the first time. Weapons of mass destruction. The patent owners of mustard gas and other chemical warfare agents are who? Bayer. They produced the gas needed to win the war when the bombs were not sufficient. The war that aimed at expanding their markets. So World War I, in summary, was the first attempt of the Chemical Cartel at the military conquest of the world to create one single worldwide market for patented chemical and pharmaceutical products. More than 16 million soldiers and civilians died. More than 20 million were wounded in the first global conquest war of the Chemical Cartel. This was the price that mankind 100 years ago did not possess, did not have the analysis that we, the speakers tonight, are giving you. And if you don't know, you cannot act. Eight years after that war failed to reach its goals, they did not give up. To the contrary, they formally united into one company. Bayer, BASF and Hoechst became one company called IG Farben. Company value 11 billion Reichsmark at that time. More than 80,000 employees doing nothing else than expanding this. Chapter 5. The second attempt at world conquest. From the early 1930s, IG Farben invests in the Nazis as part of their second strategy of world conquest. This is the headquarters of IG Farben in Frankfurt, Germany. These are documents from the Nuremberg War Crimes Tribunal more than 80 million Reichsmark paid by Bayer, BASF and Höchst to the Nazi parties prior to them coming to power. This is a page from a marketing brochure of Bayer from 1936, 3 years before the Nazi cartel coalition invaded Poland. This is North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia. You do not need to explain this picture. We've heard about Walter Hallstein and his speech in 1939. So 6 months before they invaded Poland, this guy publicly tells everyone how the future will look, which laws they will impose in Poland, the new laws. Economic laws, social laws, administrative laws, patent laws, and as you've heard, the blood and honor laws. So it was all planned. One of the central elements of their strategy was the so-called Grand Plan East, in German Generalplan Ost. It was very simple. Germany was the cartel's economic and political headquarters. And Eastern Europe and the rest of the world was a reservoir of dependent consumers and slave laborers. That was the plan. Auschwitz. No coincidence. A concentration camp 7 kilometers from the largest IG Farben factory at that time. They expanded the concentration camp Auschwitz as a reservoir for the slave labor they needed to build these industrial plants. IG Auschwitz was a 100% subsidiary of IG Farben. We are told the medical experiments conducted on thousands of innocent inmates of the concentration camps were the criminal acts of deviated SS doctors. The Nuremberg War Crime Tribunal records tell us something completely different. This picture is one of the pictures from that trial. It shows ampules injected into concentration camp inmates. And the preparation says what? Bayer. IG Farben Industries. The preparation didn't have a name. It was a code name because it was what? Patented. So these companies, they used the concentration camps as huge human laboratories to test their patented chemicals. In many cases with deadly results. And who owned the patents of the drugs tested? This one here from December 13, 1934, Bayer. What was the substance tested? It was an azo compound. What is an azo compound? You don't need to be a chemist. Look at those two balls, nitrogen and nitrogen. Remember the Lego principle? Cyclone B used to kill millions in the KZ gas chambers. Who was supplied by the IG Farben subsidiary Degish. After World War II, Danish executive Carl Worcester became head of the new BASF. He didn't end up in prison for what he did. He was made captain of one of the flagships of post-war chemical BASF.